Hello and welcome to our Flip video lesson 2.12, Conflicts for Christians. And the links will be posted here once the recording is finished. Lesson learning objectives. Compare and contrast Christianity with other world religions. Define catacombs and explain their significance. Describe the conflicts between Christians and Roman rulers, including persecutions under Nero and Diocletian. Introduction, Christian conflicts. That's what this lesson is about. Your student guide, pages 346 to 348. There's some important vocabulary to help you with the understanding of this lesson. And then, as always, it's super important to complete your reading pages to tie everything together. Introduction, 2.12, Conflicts for Christians. As the Roman Empire declined, Christians again became targets of persecution. Fearful and suspicious Romans wondered why the Christians didn't worship the Roman gods or bow down before the emperor. In AD 284, the emperor Diocletian began trying to restore order. Between 303 and 305 AD, he commanded his soldiers to seize Christian property, burn scripture, and arrest and execute Christian leaders. These actions, however, did not stamp out Christianity. In fact, they had the opposite effect. And here we're going to go ahead and have a little bit of video time within this flip video. It's a lesson from Khan Academy. It's about 6 minutes long.
Multiple videos, Christianity is a religion that grew out of the fringes of the Roman Empire. It starts as a Jewish sect in Judea and Galilee with the teachings of Jesus and his early ministry. But it's important to keep in mind that at the time of Jesus' crucifixion, around 30 CE, he only had, at most, we're talking about in the hundreds of followers. But in other videos, we talk about his apostles who start spreading the faith, not only to other Jews, but also to non-Jews, to Gentiles. We talked about Emperor Nero and his famous purges of Christians. In particular, you have the famous Roman fire, or the fire of Rome in 64 CE, that Nero blames on Christians, and he uses this to do a significant purge in Rome. Many historians believe that the apostles Peter and Paul were killed during those purges. This is a painting of Nero using Christians, lighting them alive to punish them for that fire. Now, other imperial acts that continue to have a significant effect on this very early Christian church. We talked about the destroying of the Second Temple in Jerusalem in 70 CE, and that's under the reign of Vespasian. And this, of course, is a very significant event for the Jewish people, but it also has a significant effect on Christianity, because remember, Christianity was really centered at Jerusalem. It was a sect of Christianity, it starts as a sect of Christianity, but now with the destruction of the temple, the Jews were dispersed from Jerusalem, and so were many of these early Christians. And so the centers of Christianity became throughout the empire, places like Antioch. And you continue to have a discomfort with Christians, especially as they became more and more in number and they started to have more and more power. And you have these people who refused to obey the Roman gods, to do their rituals, to worship the Roman gods. And remember, even there was emperor worship here. And the issue was, more so than even the Jewish people, who to a certain degree kept to themselves, these Christians were missionaries. They were spreading their faith to Roman citizens. Families were being split apart, where some decided to become Christians and no longer follow these Roman practices. And so you have these various persecutions and these various purges, and they get more and more significant as you go into the second, and even to some degree in the 3rd century, as Christians become more and more prominent and more in number. And remember, they have this missionary zeal, and it really becomes a significant purge under the reign of Diocletian. In previous videos, we talk about Diocletian. He's the one that famously split the empire between East and West, but he's also famous for his purge of the Christians, the most extreme state-sponsored purges of Christians in the Roman Empire. But what's interesting is right after or shortly after those purges, we're talking a few decades here, the next emperor who would have reign over the entire Roman Empire would be Constantine. And at least relative to Christians, he would be the opposite of Diocletian. Because as he's trying to consolidate his power, in 312 CE, you have the famous battle of at the Milvian Bridge outside of or entering into Rome. And in this battle, Constantine, he sees a vision of the Christian cross centered on the sun, and he thinks that that is a sign that he should fight under the cross. And he gets the symbols painted on his soldier shield, and he's victorious. And this date, 312, Milvian Bridge, the battle at Milvian Bridge, is viewed as the beginning of Constantine's conversion to Christianity, viewing it as his chosen faith. In 313, the Roman emperor, or the empire, issues the Edict of Milan, which officially makes Christianity okay. It legalizes Christianity, which is a big deal because these folks have been persecuted all this time. They haven't been worshiping the Roman gods. Then in 325, Constantine goes even further, and he convenes the Council of Nicaea, where he brings the bishops from all of Christendom together to start having a more unified belief system. They come up with the Nicene Creed. A lot of the debate is whether Jesus as Son of God should be considered equal to God or as God, or a little less as being the Son. Maybe if he's the Son, maybe there was a time where there wasn't a Son and there was just God. But the Nicene Creed says no, they are one and the same. These two things are equivalent. And then Constantine, on his deathbed, famously gets baptized and becomes a Christian, the first Christian emperor of this gigantic Roman empire. And so you can imagine you have more and more followers of Christianity, but now this is, so to speak, prime time. The emperor of the Roman Empire has converted to Christianity, and it's a legalized religion. And then that gets even more momentum when we get to the end of the 4th century. Emperor Theodosius, who was Christian, under him it becomes the official religion of the Roman Empire. The same empire that at one point Christianity was illegal and it was being persecuted, now it was the official religion of the Roman Empire. And Theodosius, I mentioned him in other videos, he was incidentally also the last emperor to rule over both Eastern and Western Roman empires. So you have this empire that starts off very anti-Christian. Actually, in the beginning, they don't really take much note of what's going on in Judea and Galilee. But more and more, they start to persecute them. But we go a few hundred years into this, and it becomes a Christian empire.
Okay, now that you've finished the video and have a little bit more of a background, go ahead and open your student guide to page 347. There's not a lot of writing space here, so if you do need to get an extra piece of paper, you can go ahead and do that. So these are on page 347. Again, not a lot of writing space, but if you want to write it in there, you can, or you can get that other piece of paper. Question number 1, who was involved? These are the conflicts between the Romans and the Christians. Who was involved in the conflict? Diocletian, the Roman emperor, and the Christians. What happened? The Romans were fearful of the Christians because they would not worship Roman gods or bow down before the emperor. Diocletian tried to restore peace to Rome and set up a new form of government. Christians, a large minority, refused to follow Diocletian's command to sacrifice to Rome's traditional gods. And there's that struggle, that battle between monotheism, which is belief in one God, and polytheism, which is the belief in many gods. Question number 3, when did this conflict take place? During the 3rd century AD. Where? In the Roman Empire. Question number 5, why? Rome was in turmoil. The empire was getting too large to govern, and the rule of the law was breaking down. Diocletian became emperor and wanted to restore order by making everyone follow the same laws and rules. Christians denied the existence of pagan Roman gods and continued worshiping only one God. Question number 6, how did the people on each side of the conflict respond? How does the response affect people? Roman soldiers seized Christian property, burned scriptures, and arrested and executed Christians. Christians died for their beliefs, and the Christian religion grew in spite of the persecution. And go ahead and turn to page 348. So this conflict again was brewing between Christian and Roman rulers. And as you read from your readings for today, from Diocletian's great persecution to the end, pages 410 to 417, imagine what headlines might have appeared in local Roman newspapers at the time. And you can go ahead and fill in the blanks to complete the headlines. And you can, some of these may be a little bit different wording than what I have here. Turmoil grips the Roman Empire. As rule of law break down, fearful and suspicious Romans wonder why Christians refuse to worship Roman gods. Rome gets a new ruler. Diocletian attempts to restore peace and order. Christians disobey Diocletian's order to sacrifice to Roman gods. Roman soldiers seize Christian property, burn scripture, arrest and execute Christian leaders. Efforts to stamp out Christianity fail as martyrs like Valentine die for their beliefs. And again, you may have some other adjectives or other words in there, but something close to that will do. And here we come to the comparing religions and philosophies chart. If you remember correctly, in first semester, you filled in Hinduism, Confucianism, Buddhism, and I believe Judaism. And now we're going to go ahead and fill in Christianity. So turn to page 168, which is where you should have completed this before for the other religions, and you're going to go ahead and fill in the blanks for Christianity using this page. And remember, you can always pause the video or look at the PDF as needed. So Christianity, who founded it? Jesus and his followers. When was it founded? After Jesus' death, about AD 33. What are the principal beliefs? Jesus was Son of God. By following the teachings of Jesus and living as he had taught, people can be saved and enter heaven. And the 10 Commandments from the Old Testament. What are the principal sacred texts? The Bible. In which geographic regions does Christianity predominate today? Christianity is the predominant religion in North America, South America, Europe, Australia, and Russia. It doesn't mean it's the only religion. It means it's the predominant, the most widely practiced in that area. And then roughly, how many followers of Christianity are there in the world today? Approximately 2 billion. And here we come to our vocabulary section. Just 2 words for today. Catacomb is a repeat from yesterday, but you will see this on your assessment. A network of underground passages built by early Christians. And pagan, a person who worships many gods or goddesses, or the earth or nature. Reading is key to understanding comprehension. Oops, I forgot to change. Oh, no, that's the correct. So please make sure that you do have your Human Odyssey reading pages 410 to 417 complete for today's lesson. And here we come to our quote section. If a man is correct in his own person, then there will be obedience without orders being given. But if he is not correct in his own person, there will not be obedience even though orders are given. And that should say even though. I'm sorry, a little typo there. Thank you so much for joining me today. The ultimate list: get more sleep, get more water, get more exercise, read more, get more organized, clean more often, explore more, relax more, have more patience, forget doing more, just try your best. Have an amazing day.